Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the newly rebranded Motiga Unleashed. A lot of you remember Motiga Unleashed was the first fan site dedicated to figuring out what the heck Motiga was doing. And here we are with the CEO, Chris Chung. Welcome, Chris, and thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Tim. I've been a big fan of what you guys are doing, and thank you for inviting me to an awesome venue.
Oh, well, thanks for coming. We're also joined by that other guy, Patrick Bazazalizl.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, Patrick.
Good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, dude. Really appreciate it.
Oh, was it a busy Monday for you guys? It is Monday, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
it
okay.
is Monday over here in this part of the country. Um, it was fairly busy. We always have stuff going on, so Mondays when we get ready for the our weekly build that goes up. So it's always hectic.
Insider secrets spilled by CEO at Motiga. News at 11.
Do you guys work through the weekends?
Some of us, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's always enough work. Of course, I try to make sure that our folks get enough rest. We wanted to, from the very beginning, when I founded the company, I wanted to make sure that we have somewhat of a work-life balance, and we encourage people to take time off.
Gotcha. And so let me ask you that question then. Let's segue right
Sure.
into that. From
Yep.
all of the companies that you have either been an executive at or worked at,
Yeah.
how would you compare the work life balance policy versus actual execution at Motiga?
So I definitely think it could be better. But there are certain things that we are trying to do to ensure that. One is we have what's called the open PTO policy. Um, you know, the thing that I wanted to do when I founded the company with Rick was to make sure we hire adults and we treat people like adults. A lot of times, I think companies don't do that well. But so one of the things that we wanted to do was, you know, one of the ways we do that is by having an open PTO where a lot of times people have to take a half day or a full day off to do important things in life. And because they have to be in the office. And we wanted to avoid that. So people are able to take half a day or a full day or even a 3 week long vacation without, as long as one, stuff gets done.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they don't impede on other people's progress. Right. So if they've already talked with their manager and their teammates, you know, being here doesn't mean that not being here doesn't mean that work isn't getting done this day and age. So we wanted to make sure that people have freedom to take those opportunities where a lot of times you do things like there's something happening in school for your children and you can't go because that means taking a day off of and taking that out of PTO. So we definitely didn't want our colleagues to go through that kind of wrangling.
So you guys kind of have that option of, hey, let's use just somebody with kids, for example. Hey, I know that, my kids are going back to school and I'm going to need a couple of half days to get them ready. That
Yeah,
doesn't really take out of some sort of, like I have 80 hours of PTO a year.
yeah,
And with a kid on the way, that's like, hey, how do I balance this out? So that's awesome, actually.
yeah.
Oh, does yeah, is it a specific type of PTO or do you kind of separate sick time into that as well?
No, it's basically as long as if you can get the work done. I think taking 4 or 5 weeks, although nobody has abused it,
I would love a four
it's
to five
okay.
week
Yeah,
vacation.
yeah.
That would
But like I said, the scheduled work has to get done,
Right.
right.
no matter where you are. And as long as you get buy-in from your managers and your colleagues,
Right.
it's okay.
Well, that's awesome. So you guys really just kind of encourage, take care of yourself and make
Yeah,
sure the work
yeah,
gets done.
yeah.
Do you think that policy risks change come launch?
No, I hope it doesn't change. We'll try to do our best to continue to keep this policy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like you, Timmy actually brought up a kind of a good
Did you just
topic.
call me Timmy?
I did.
I might have to kick you off of the stream.
Okay, be
That
nice,
was-
guys.
No, it's okay. Tim's just a jerk, and I have to deal with it on a daily basis. Okay, so Chris, you said that you don't want the development process and the way that you treat your employees to change after the game's launched.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be affected because you have to continue to produce so much content per month or per week or whatever your schedule is going to be? I mean, because like if we look at like League of Legends, like when they first started, their like development time was like a new champion every 2 weeks, which is bam, 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 bam,
Yeah,
and that had to be like a hugely stressful situation. So,
Yeah.
do you guys prefer or going to prefer quality over quantity, or are you gonna try and just knock out a bunch of stuff like no matter what the cost is?
So I think there are a few things that we could do on that front. We definitely pursue quality over quantity, right? I think I've talked about this a little earlier, but what really inspires me is the thoughtfulness and care that goes into everything that we create here in Motiga. I think our development team, is one of the world's best, and they not only know how to execute, they think about what they're producing a lot before actually it's put into the game. And even then, there are times when it gets all the way into the game, it doesn't feel quite right, and we pull stuff out. We've done that, I think, even throughout the alpha test process. So we definitely are looking for quality over quantity. But there are things that we are planning right now to make sure that there is a regular cadence of content after release. So yeah, I think there's going to be. I'm not going to say what kind of schedule it's going to be, but the game is going to continue to feel fresh, and it's important for us to do that.
All right, awesome. Now, in terms of like the employee kind of like stress level there, I mean, everyone we've talked to, everyone we've engaged with, it's like zero stress. Like everyone's just always very, very upbeat and positive without having to fake it. What do you kind of relate that success to?
Or they're really good at faking it. Let's.
They're
No,
actually really good at faking. I pay them like $50 every time they go on to Twitch TV.
Whoa! So I need to start splitting this with people. What's up?
You can, I mean, honestly, you can always tell when someone's faking it. Like, no matter how, like, type of thing they are. Like, but employees of Motiga have always been just extremely happy. So, what do you relate that success to?
Well, I think it really starts with awesome people. Like I said, the earlier sort of philosophy about hiring adults and giving them ownership. We don't just hire just people who are good at executing, but really could take initiative and run with it. So, I think we're pretty careful in hiring. I'll just give you one recent example. So we hired a senior producer who is awesome, like a lot of other people here. We had 118 resumes,
Wow, that's
30
a lot.
39 screens by our HR folks, and then 16 of them either Finney and I screened personally, and we had 6 interviews and hired 1 guy.
Wow.
And that's a lot of process. It took probably about 3-4 months longer than we would liked, but at the end we have somebody that's awesome, right? Not only is he executing on the top level, but he is somebody that fits with our culture.
So it's not hard to get into Motiga, is what you're saying. Right, that's what I got out of that.
If you're the right kind of guy, I think.
And I think somebody
Yeah,
has said it in the past that you guys will hire both skill but also personality as to whether or
yeah,
not they mend with the team, because
yeah.
certain skill sets can be taught, right?
Right, right.
But there needs to be that right kind of person who can
Yeah,
adapt to that skill set. So, and that's awesome. It's, you know, the game industry has a bit of a stigma that follows it, that especially now, that it's so
right.
impossible for anyone with no formal education or
Yeah,
formal experience. But if you meet the right people and you really network and really kind of rub people the right way, so to speak,
yeah.
you can fit on many of the teams. Um, do you remember a friend of mine, Jordan, who we met? He was in
Yeah.
Seattle, actually. So when I first met him, when we were involved in the another gaming community, he wasn't on social media in any stretch of the
Okay.
imagination, Facebook or anything.
Yeah.
And he eventually got onto it, and very shortly thereafter got hired on at a game studio. So it kind of goes to show that whole networking thing, which leads to my next question: is how did you get your start? Where did Chris Chung come from?
That's a very good question. So I was, I'm Korean by birth. I grew up in this little town in Korea, and then my parents took me all the way to Chicago, of all places,
Wow.
when I was right around 10, and grew up there. And basically, long story short, after I went college, I worked at a small company and then went to Microsoft. Was there for about over 5 years, and then in 2000, I started my own company. Um, it was a online marketing research of all industries, but I've always had interest in gaming, not just playing games, but the game industry. Um, and in 2002, I remember in November of that year, I got a phone call from this guy who was COO of a company that I've never heard of called NCSoft. Uh, and so they were about to acquire this studio in Bellevue, which I also never heard of, called ArenaNet. Uh,
Never heard of him.
and yeah,
Ooh.
and so they basically flew me out to Korea, met with TJ Kim, who's the CEO,
Wow.
and then I came back and met with the founders of ArenaNet. And they were looking for somebody who could be sort of their business manager.
Mhm.
You know, the founders really wanted to focus on creating a great game. And after I think about an hour of discussion, I just fell in love with what they're trying to do, and I thought they were going to rock the industry. So I said, I'm in,
Mhm.
and started working for them. So it was, when I look back at my career, I think it's a series of sort of these opportunities and really nice people that opened the door for me. But so after having started at ArenaNet, having partaken a little bit of help in shipping Guild Wars, I was asked to take on more responsibility within NCSoft. So I became the VP of Publishing for North America.
Okay.
And then I was in that job for about 9 months, and then TJ Kim, who's CEO of NCSoft, asked me to come out to Korea and help him run the Asian operation for a while. Um, and and then after a year, I came back to US, um, And one of my favorite people in the industry, Robert Garriott, who was former CEO of NCSoft, asked me to step into his role because he was getting sick of me. No, it was just, he, he wanted to retire, so
Good for him.
he asked me to step into his role. So I was extremely fortunate that I was able to shadow him for about 8 months before I took over.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was how I got into this industry.
So what interested you? Like, I'm sure you wanted to be, other things, growing up and
Yeah,
and having other thoughts of what you would do with your career path.
yeah.
So, what exactly interested you in taking all these positions? And I guess the other question is why?
What? So after I got into the game industry, um, I I fell in love with it. There's probably no other industry that I'm interested anymore. The I think the especially the core gaming space that we are in um, is filled with people who are not only artistic, but we're also pushing the envelope of technology in a lot of areas, and that combination of those two um, in a single space, it just um, is exciting for me, and the amount of creativity that's happening in our industry. People who are really taking sort of helping the industry move forward. I think those are things that really excite me and keep me in the industry.
Okay, awesome. Now, did you go to college for any obviously like training or anything, or did you just kind of jump in and just like,
So I went to college for political science.
wow, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm like, it's always interesting to see
Yeah,
that you went into something and then you're just like, well, whatever, I'm gonna go into something else.
yeah,
So I mean, it's I always like the gaming industry because sometimes or a lot of the time you don't really need any former training. You just kind of jump into it and go, okay, well, this square peg fits into this square peg and it works, and I know how to do that, so hire me.
yeah,
So, like it's really neat to kind of see someone that just kind of goes into it, get to your level, which is
yeah,
a huge inspiration to anyone who wants to get into the gaming industry.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think one of my favorite quotes of all time is by Anton Ego, who was the critique in the movie Ratatouille, right?
I love that movie.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
good.
I
he
thought
said that
Anton was from Ghostbusters for some reason.
he said that not anyone can become an artist, but artists could come from anywhere, and
Yes.
that is so true in our industry, right? Uh, we have people that I think it takes a lot of passion and interest in what we're doing. I have had friends who were, for example, a friend who was an architect who decided to basically quit that job and become a level designer,
Wow.
right? And then a lawyer who was so interested in the gaming space that he decided to be part of customer support.
Wow.
So those things are those things happen in our industry more than any other industry, and it's the passion that people have of our product and our industry that's really driving a lot of that.
Would you say the industry as a whole, as forgive the play on words, as gigantic as the industry is, would you say that it's small?
I think it's relatively small still.
Right.
Um,
Even though it's $78 billion in net value or something,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's small. It's a drop in the hat, right?
but but I think there's uh, more sort of camaraderie in this industry than any other industry, right? Because if you're, for example, creating Word, you don't really have to use somebody else's word processor. Uh,
Right.
but in our industry, like if you create a fun game, it doesn't matter what company you work for,
Right.
you're going to be playing their game, right? So that's where a lot of I think people feel even though it's a huge industry, people feel close knit because, hey, I've played your game before.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
There's almost a family kind of mentality to
Yeah.
it. And you know, from an outside perspective, having never worked in the industry, we look at it, you know, as competitions to some degree. Recent titles have come up on Reddit as questions of whether or not they're going to be competitive with the market that Gigantic is focusing on. And from an internal standpoint, do you guys look at it as competition or as just another game studio doing what they love?
Yeah, I think you know, sure there is a competition for the time, you know, and attention,
Right.
but you could talk about that with any other games,
Mhm.
right? So
There's a question from chat.
sure.
Jankinis, believe that's how you say the name, wants to know what what is your opinion on the community as a whole and how that affects the game?
Yeah. So, you know, I think I've been fairly clear about how important the community is. That's why even before we actually had a product to announce, we brought on Troy. Um, you know, we we had no product, and we hired our first community manager. And one of the lessons that I learned from being part of Guild Wars was that the relationship with community is not only sort of just one-way street, right? It's not developers saying, this is what we're going to do, you just take it and run with it. But it's a two-way dialogue. We think it's really important to not only make the game better, um, but it's also you know, it, it really helps us understand what our customers think. If you have your customers, potential customers, being part of that process, it really ensures us that we're creating products for our players instead of creating something that we just want to play, right? So I think having community always be part of that process keeps us honest and improves our product.
Awesome. Thank you.
So with the whole community, the concept of toxicity.
Yeah.
How do you take a toxic community from your perspective, being both a gamer and a CEO? It is in its own right a community, right? It's a niche of gamers who want to argue all the time about things. But do you think that can help a community, or do you think it really hurts?
I have the ultimate ban button.
I don't like you.
No.
That's awesome.
Is that why I can't get on Motiga.com, Chris? Is that what you're
Yep.
telling me?
It's permanently banned.
Yeah. No, I think it really starts from the design of the game. I think you know, you need to make sure that the design of the game helps you to have non-toxic community, a better community. So in that regard, I think we're are hopefully when people play our game, they feel like we're designing something that'll not force cooperation, but it's really a better experience if you cooperate with other players, right? There's really no lone wolf that's going to get. I mean, except for maybe Tomas, 30 kills per game.
Is he someone that works at Motiga?
Yeah,
Oh,
he-
okay.
I hate playing against him.
Is he that bad?
He's that bad, and
He's
he's
that bad.
like he's the nicest guy in the world. Like if you meet him in person, so you
Is
don't want to say stuff to him, but
is he the guy that'll punch holes in the wall? Actually, let's revert this question. Do you have anyone at Motiga that when they're playing Gigantic, you're concerned for your facility?
no, he's definitely not. Actually, there are a couple. and I'm not going to say names.
Okay, can you hint?
It's
Uh,
totally Greg, right?
it's no, no.
Greg would have hurt himself before the wall.
It, it's it's a lady.
Oh,
Allie?
No,
Oh.
she's you
Oh,
could get,
oh,
but
I could guess it's Lexi.
no, no. Lexi's not even.
those are like.
Yeah,
No, I don't see both of those being that violent there, Tim.
Maybe
yeah.
Katie?
Oh yeah, because yeah, totally.
Oh.
Uh,
Okay, so in terms of toxicity and keeping that in check and making
Yep.
sure that the community stays friendly, professional, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Um, excuse me. What are some of the plans that you're allowed to talk about that will be implemented and not just gameplay wise, but on the forums, in communities, on
Yeah.
streams, on Reddit, that kind of stuff. What are some of the things you guys are looking for to either reward players for extremely good behavior or
Yeah.
punish players for bad behavior? Because I mean, if we look at other communities like League of Legends, Dota, Smite, World of
Yeah.
Warcraft, all those communities, they can be really good when they're really good and just horrible when they're really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like what's your baseline principle on that, and can you kind of maybe go into some detail about that kind of stuff?
Sure. So my sort of baseline principle for that is ensure your game design um, is conducive to non-toxic gameplay. Um, start there, and then second, empower our players to police each other. All right. Give our players the tools, um, and, and then third, if all else fails, then don't be afraid to do the right thing by the players. So those have been sort of guiding principles of designing not only the game but everything around the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess my follow-up question to that is are you guys okay with banning someone who's really, really popular if they break terms of service or that kind of stuff, or cheat, or start acting like a jerk?
Yeah. Like I said, I think we should never be afraid to do right by our players.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Yeah, if we can't do that, then but the bigger population of our fans are a lot more important than somebody that's really famous getting a couple million hits on YouTube.
Cool. Awesome. That's
So-
very, very encouraging to hear.
There's a degree of being fair and right to the community,
Yeah.
but there's a line, right? There has to be a line drawn in the sand when you stop saying, listen, community, we're going to take this and turn the other cheek, and eventually you have to do what's right by your business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so are you guys going to have, or do you have plans for, or can you talk about, in-game support, or people that can, look at these chat logs and, or, whatever there may be, to be able to kind of monitor those things? As you said, fan policed or player policed.
So we are going to have the system to allow us to do that. I think some of it as actually, being integrated fairly soon. So
Awesome.
those
Really?
tools are definitely going to be there.
That segues into kind of a question as to a lot of development studios work on the milestone kind of philosophy as far as development cycles go. Are you able to share with us kind of what milestone you guys are on?
That's a very good question. We're shipping sometime 2015.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be at PAX East and PAX South. Beyond that, I don't know.
Okay. Then we'll use that that springboard into PAC South.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to be doing a tournament at PAC South.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that.
What? So obviously, you guys feel like the alpha has progressed to a stage where the game is to be consumed in a competitive kind of arena. Can you kind of share some of the details on what the thought process went into saying, hey, we're ready for that, and what that kind of system's going to look like.
So it was actually, I think it was either Troy or Ali's idea. It was community team's idea to do this, and all I did was say, "Shit, yeah,
Awesome.
Executive shit, yeah, hammer.
yeah, yeah." No, no. Like like I said earlier, with our development team, um, but all the other sort of part of the company, we empower people to make decisions on their own, and as long as it's something that they're passionate about and they think it's the right thing to help the company, I think we give a lot of free reins to people. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
is it going to be player versus player, dev versus player, dev and
So
player versus dev and player?
yeah, I think there may be some combination. I don't know if it's going to be dev versus player. Maybe versus player might not be part of the tournament, but there will be some just I think fun events that'll happen around that.
Awesome. So it sounds like it's gonna be more of a casual tournament rather than like a super serious like.
Yeah. And
Okay, good.
I've already got my Wesley Crushers shirt.
It's not the Wesley Crushers. It's not the Wesley Crushers.
Yeah.
It's
The
the Wesley
Wesley
Crushers.
Crushers.
Yeah, yeah.
I just saw an episode today.
At least not at this state. This is all for fun.
Well, yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's someone that is heavily into esports and really wants to get into that scene with Gigantic. I'm really looking forward to being able to kind of bring the tournaments and that kind of stuff. So
Great.
I'm now. Is this tournament going to be live streamed at PAX?
We are hoping that it'd be live stream.
Awesome!
It
Cannot
is-
wait for that.
It'll be all. I'm doing everything in my powers. Even though I have a baby on the way, that can all whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
To be at PAX South, it's only I could swim there. It's across the Gulf. It's fine.
You could bring your wife over there. If it's close to
She's
the due
8 to
date.
9 months pregnant. I
She could
don't
have the
think
baby
that
in-
would go well.
San Antonio.
San Antonio's got some of the. Actually, San Antonio is the home to the Army's medical training school at Fort Sam Eustis. So we're solid. The Army
Yeah.
can do it. We're good. Good.
Yeah.
My vet benefits will kick in. It's fine.
We're good.
We're solid.
good.
We're solid. So,
So actually, kind of in terms of like the competitive scene in esports, how do you guys plan to help the community promote events other than just tweet it out and that kind of stuff? Like do you guys have a solid kind of business model behind that? Since obviously the game is definitely catered towards the competitive esports
Yeah.
style thing.
So, one of the things that we've I think previously talked about was we want to make sure that when we do become esports, it's a process that's driven by the fans and the community, rather than us talking about it. So what we're going to do internally is really focus on facilitating that to happen, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff that we have to develop to make sure that it's not only an awesome game to play, but an awesome game to spectate. So those systems that needs to be are stuff that needs to be developed, and then we will as the we go into sort of closed beta, open beta, we'll add more of those systems and let the community really take over.
Awesome. That's just what I wanted to hear because, like any company or any game that pushes their game to be esports generally fails.
Yep.
I mean, and you've seen that through other countless games and stuff, which is always unfortunate.
Yep.
I like the approach that you guys are taking because it's so like you guys are just so community driven. It's almost like unbelievable at times because I'm like, okay, wait, is this actually happening? Is this like because you guys have this really cool approach to the gaming industry where it's everyone always goes with the community rather than what will make the top dollar or whatever thing or whatever. I mean, that's the impression that a lot of us have gotten throughout the community. It's because you guys have just always stood by the community and you guys aren't even in beta yet. So, I mean, you guys being able to form a solid community around just thin air for the past few months that it's just been awesome. So I think that the way you guys are going, don't lose sight of that, and
Yep.
you guys will definitely be rewarded for that. I mean, I think that Tim will agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Um,
You know.
I have just a quick question, Chris.
Yeah.
Oculus support?
That was the best answer Chris could ever give. He's like,
I'm
No,
going to put my
Oculus.
hand down here, and I'm
Yeah,
going to put down
Oculus
4
is, I
fingers.
think, awesome.
it's fun.
We need Oculus support. I'm sorry. I just looked over, and I meant to ask that question earlier.
Okay.
Carry on.
Terrible. Well, that's
Yeah.
all I got, dude.
Yeah. So as far as the community is concerned, we are not building this game to be something that's flash in the pan, right? We want to make sure that we're in it for long haul. Hopefully, next 10 to 15 years, you'll still have people
Mhm.
playing the game. And so we want to make sure that what we're delivering to the customers, our players, and the way we're delivering it can withstand the test of time. Um, because I definitely want to see my grandchildren. Maybe I have a girl that's freshman in college, so I hope I don't have grandchildren by then. but I could enjoy and play the game, right?
I mean, there are games that have been around. Look at the MMO industry as
Yeah.
a general rule of thumb. Ultima Online started in 1997 and just celebrated its 17th
Yeah.
year. So,
Been
wow.
17 years.
It's
Holy
been
crap.
17 years, yep. World of
Yeah.
Warcraft just hit 10 years. I mean,
10 years. Yeah.
there are games that really kind of stand through the test of time.
Yeah.
And, obviously I have vested interest in, from the time I've spent with Motiga Unleashed and then Gigantic Unleashed to want to see it do well. So I do hope that, you guys really are here, when my son is, able to beat his dad at video games, which will never happen. But, it's,
Wait,
stop the scoffing. You guys are so mean to me. But do you guys have as just a kind of whiteboard 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan, or do you guys really focus on the now?
So we're focusing mostly on next year. I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done before we would call it, a live service. And we do have some interesting plans longer term for the company. One of the things that I ask everyone in the company to do is think about how do we help move the industry forward.
Right.
And if you look at a lot of the hits in our industry, they really come from, unless you're established franchise, the sort of new breakout hits come from a small team of passionate people that sort of are extremely passionate about the core idea. So as a company, and I think about how do we enable that? How do we continue to enable something like that to happen organically in the company? So we do have some specific plans, but I don't think Troy is going to let me talk about it right now.
Is he your boss in that regard?
Yeah, sometime in the future, I will definitely talk about that when we're ready.
Awesome.
So, do you guys have the whiteboard of hopes and dreams for features and different heroes and things like that you want to see in that just don't fit into the development schedule?
Yeah, I think there is a pretty long list of stuff that we want to get done, and some of those may not get into the game until we're live.
Right.
And so certainly, I think the wish list is much longer than the time that is allowed to ship the game.
Right.
Well, I mean, that usually happens normally. You
Yeah.
can't
Yep.
fit everything all at once, and things pop up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your monetization model, and obviously, you probably can't go into like, huge details, and that's
Yep.
understandable. But can you give us some sort of, I guess, inkling or hint, and as to like what system you're looking to go into? Obviously, the game's going to be free to play.
Yep. Yep.
But do you guys prefer like the in-game like gem stuff that Smite does, or are you guys choosing to go down like the real life money that Valve does with Dota 2?
I think we haven't really decided on one way or the other.
Okay.
But um,
Which way do you prefer personally?
so I do like the gem model
Okay.
because I do want to. I like buying things in bulk.
Right.
So when I'm and I have a wallet, and when I want to spend it, basically it doesn't sort of have to go through all of this credit processing, and I could just use my gem and buy.
Okay.
So that's probably preferred way for me. But yeah, the developer as well.
Did you ever feel cheated in like the gem kind of style of system?
So
Um,
I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of you know creating exchange rate that's really not 10 to 1, right?
mhm.
And so whatever we do, we want to make sure that people there's an immediate ability to calculate exactly how much you have,
Okay.
instead of, well, it's 5 times 6 times 2 equals whatever,
Right.
like 99 cents. Yeah, we certainly don't want to be in that camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you? Actually, let me kind of segue this into that same kind of concept of gems and things like that. There's a mobile game that I play religiously called Clash of Clans,
Yep.
and with the mobile genre and the adaptation of those kind of gems, does the way that they do gems, do you believe at least translate into a PC title?
The way they do the
As far
gems.
as you can earn them for free watching a video,
Yeah.
and things like that. Do you think that that's a marketable approach for a game like Gigantic, where you can earn free gems by, watching this advertisement about whatever?
Yep.
Curse, I guess,
Uh,
is a good example.
yeah. We don't know if that translates directly into it, but what one of the things that we are trying to do is make sure that not just in-game actions, but positive actions by the players that help our community and help the franchise is somehow rewarded. Um, so I think there's a pretty exciting discussion that's happening internally around that, and we'll see. Well,
Awesome.
yeah, I think we'll be testing that probably sometime mid next year.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing that. Since we're on kind of like business models and that kind of stuff, there was a question in chat from TL Alvla, I believe that's how you say the name, asking what's your customer support, and kind of a follow-up question to that is, since you guys are not owned by anyone else other than just Motiga, and as you guys grow in scale and grow in population, do you guys have a set plan to address that?
So we actually have, let me see, one, two, three, 4 people in customer support already. You guys
Okay.
don't see that, but we have the customer manager and a few other specialists that's working, basically preparing the way for the launch. So for the game in this state, I think we are ensuring to make sure that customers can get support immediately. I think for alpha testers, there's already an alias that they could get an answer within an hour or two.
Oh wow, that's great.
So I think those things are in place. We are integrating the customer support system in our forums and the game. Those are going to be coming online fairly soon. So we do want to make sure that our players have an awesome experience, and when they do have a problem, that they know where to go.
That's awesome to hear.
Do you want to have
Awesome.
public forums?
That's a good question. I think it's going to be really Troy's call.
Right.
Yeah.
But because I know it can lead to a bitch fest, really.
Yeah.
But it can also help to kind of uplift and grow the community. And
Yeah.
I think the community, and I applaud the guys over at GG Unleashed and the Reddit and everything. Like, wait a second, for really kind of helping to springboard the community and being that place. The Reddit's really done, I think, the best job as far as being a discussion place. IRC more real time, but. I've obviously, you and I first interacted back in February when you sent the team that helped build Motiga Unleashed an email, which I have framed somewhere in the house. It's how do you feel like the community has from that time in February? Do you feel like the community has grown at a rate that you want, or would you like it to be kind of more exponentially larger at this point in the stage?
Yeah. So like everything, I think, like building a game, which takes a lot of time, often too long. Building community is the same thing, right? You don't want to force that process. I think a lot of companies have tried to do that, and it usually backfires. So, I want to make sure that the process is organic. I want people that love what we're doing, and ultimately the game that we're making. So, gigantic. I hope everyone loves it, but it could be not some people's cup of tea. And
I already love it, and I haven't even played it. So I mean, you're doing something right, man. You guys are doing something right.
I haven't played it since July. I don't want to hear it.
but so I think we'll definitely focus on growing things organically rather than trying to force something.
Oh,
Okay, awesome.
so that actually, and we're coming up on the hour, Chris. And before we started, I asked you if you mind running a bit longer. I have a question or two I want to ask before we turn it loose,
Sure.
and I want to ask you one of these questions is we have I would say about 45 questions from the community. Obviously, not going to go through all of them because some of them mimic each other. But would you mind taking some of those questions and kind of answering
Sure.
directly for the community? Fantastic. That was question number one. Question number two is coming out of PAX Prime.
Yeah.
How do you feel like A, Gigantic was received, and B, how the development team received the applause and the fandom, because it's a bit different for some of these guys who don't really interact with the community on a regular basis.
Right. So, one of the things that I sent out an email before the announcement of the game, and no, I take that back. Maybe it was after announcement, and there was a lot of sort of positive buzz around the community from the gamers. We got a lot of really good feedback, and I said, don't let anything that's sort of publicly facing get to your head, and don't take things to your heart. And because there are a lot of games that have started with a lot of fanfare, a lot of hyped interest, and that went on to failure. Fail as a game. And so, Motiga as a company, we want to focus on building that great game, and whatever sort of hype that's around the game, hopefully doesn't impact our development team. I know it's part of human nature. That's definitely going to happen, but we need to not lose the sight of creating a great game.
Right.
That's most important. No matter, it doesn't matter how beautiful the trailer is. It doesn't matter how beautiful the website is. At the end of the day, if you don't deliver awesome product, then all those are for naught.
Well, I mean, in terms of like the hype train, you guys have done a really, really good job. It's slowly putting the fire into the burner, lighting it, and then letting the train slowly pick up speed as you pull all these cars along.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like we see a ton of games, and I don't have to name any of them because we've seen so many overhyped games that just don't do well or just piss everybody off. So you guys have chosen the organic route rather than the let's just go crazy and just
Yeah.
gigantic everywhere. So I got to commend you guys for taking that risk because a lot of companies don't think that that works anymore. But holy crap, does it work? I mean, it's just it's proof is in the pudding. Because I mean, I know it's silly to kind of compare success from like Reddit numbers, but when I first joined the Reddit, it was maybe 30, 40 Reddit
Yeah.
users. Now we've broken 1,000 guys.
Yeah.
That's huge, and that's all community word of mouth. You guys have done zero advertising
Yeah.
at all. So props to you guys in the community for just making this organic, hype train go really, really well. So just awesome job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's kind of turn this over to the community. We're going to ask some questions.
Okay.
So the first question comes from one trooper, and his question is, who was the first to concept the beautiful art style?
So it's a lot of so you guys know that I think we've repeated this in the past that we don't have an art director,
Right.
and so a lot of the art, the concept art comes from Vinod and Devin, who are our two sort of lead character concept guys. And then, one of the things that if you have an awesome people that's working in development, you see, usually in a lot of other studios where you have this awesome concept that comes out of concept artists, and then through the process, it either degrades or stays equal. Once you go through the 3D artists, animators. In our case, the concept art, actually, the final product from the concept art, it actually gets better. Right? And it's an amazing process to see. So basically, it's not just one-to-one mapping of the concept, but it's the 3D artists are thoughtful about what this character really represents, and they make the concept, the character that's better than the concept art, and then the animator does the same thing. Then when it goes to effects artists, they think about how to make that even better than the original concept intended. And sometimes it would go all the way back to the concept artist or 3D artist and change sort of the pipeline to make it feel just right. And those are sort of, it's magical to witness that process happening. And it really happens every day at Motiga.
Well, that's awesome. And you guys have,
Yeah.
like Kristen, who's got her hands in kind of
Yep.
all sorts of things, kind of helping to direct that
Yeah.
train. So that's awesome. The next question is a little more interesting. Or interesting, I won't say a little more. But what's your opinion, and this comes from Red Mage Reduc, what's your opinion on Korea's game industry versus the game industry in the United States?
Huh. Very different.
Fair enough.
No.
All right.
Well, I could elaborate. So, one of the things that we enjoy here is really long history of video games, starting all the way from the Atari days. There's a history here that in the U.S. that's, I think, much longer than a lot of other places in the world. Korea just got into the game industry. I mean, not I wouldn't say just got into, but about 16, 17 years ago is when they really got into sort of the big uh, you know, game as an industry. Um, and but they have so the place where they started is really focused on PC gaming, whereas in the US we started from console and then it's sort of spread into a lot of different type of gaming. So the in Korea, the console has never been big. So what are they doing? They're basically there's a lot of still a lot of PC gaming, but people who are into more lighter fare are going directly into mobile. So mobile gaming in Korea is getting huge. Um, so I think the diversity of game is probably less so than in the US, but it's also different type of games are really popular in Korea.
Mhm.
Okay. So, are there any current Korean games that you really are currently playing or are interested in? Like, for example, Tryon just ported Arcade over.
Yeah.
Have you?
So I did play a little bit of Arcade. I have to tell you that I don't like grindy games.
No one here does. It's okay.
So and one of the things that playing gigantic every day has really spoiled me. It's hard for me to sit down and play MMOs anymore. It's just tough.
Really?
Yeah, uh,
Hmm.
because I think I love the pace of our game.
Okay.
I also play things like League, um, Legends quite a bit, probably about at least 4 or 5 times a week. But um, anything that requires 2 to 3 hours of attention of my time on a daily basis is not something that I could get into.
But you're married,
I am
and
married.
my wife requires 2 or 3 hours of my attention every day. How do I?
Tim, you're a
That's
horrible person.
I am a terrible, terrible, terrible person. I'm gonna just
No,
shut up.
Chris, it's actually interesting that you kind of like mentioned that because I am a huge MMO player. Like I've played
Yeah,
everything from Ultima Online to now I'm playing WildStar,
yeah,
and I mean that actually worries me because I like WildStar. So if I start playing Gigantic and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, and then it's a good thing because that means you've made a game that sucks me in more than anything else.
yeah,
But it's also something that I find really interesting that you kind of brought that up because you I assume that you like MMOs
yeah.
and okay and so playing this game on a daily basis for you has it taken away your enjoyment of MMOs or just kind of like the time commitment?
It's the time commitment, right? So I think as I'm getting older, it's difficult to set aside 2 hours for gaming. So like even though probably on the whole I play a couple of hours of Gigantic or other games, um, I like it in sort of bite-sized chunks. And like I said, I'm right now probably at least for an hour a day playing Tomb Raider, trying to finish that. And then a few minutes of Call of Duty, and then a game of League. So, uh, so those are things that I could enjoy in bite size. I don't have to. It's not an investment of 3 4 hours a day. Um,
Interesting.
and I yeah, as I get older, I think my gaming habit has changed to more of a little bit more diverse, but also a little bit more shorter game sessions.
I fear that with a child in March.
Oh
That's
Yeah,
no, it definitely changes. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
definitely changes.
I need to get a gaming laptop so I can sit and just yeah yeah.
Well, if he's anything like my son, he'll be like, "Hey, keys on the keyboard, let me rip all of them off for you."
That's
It's
frightening.
it is it
Yeah.
is.
So I think Pat, you have the next question for Mr. Chris.
I do. Silfu asked this question: What is your favorite thing in Gigantic? Whenever it is implemented or
Whether
not?
whether it's
Weather.
implemented.
Whether it's implemented or not.
I'm dyslexic. I'm special.
Special, yes.
Well, uh, I think the there's a lot I like about the game, obviously, but I the one of the things that I really like about our game is it has a lot of mass appeal. We're not trying to be overtly violent, or like the game. Um, you guys haven't played the game or haven't played it in a while, but the the gameplay, the art, the whole package, I think renders itself to a it's a competitive game, but you don't feel bad after you lose, right?
It's
I
not
think
a tournament where guts go everywhere.
yeah
Okay.
you don't feel like you just got punished for playing this game, uh, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about this experience.
That
Awesome.
actually that leads into a question I just thought of, Chris. Do you
Yeah.
have an ESRB kind of target in mind? And if so, what would that be if you can share it?
Our target is go teen. We definitely are not looking for E or M. I think teen is probably where we'd be comfortable.
Fair enough.
Just
Yeah.
based on the gameplay footage, I mean, it's cartoon violence. It's pretty much
Yeah.
like Super Smash Brothers or that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
cartoons beating on each other. So hey, why not?
There you
Yeah.
go. So our next question comes in from Furious Narwhal, the man over at Reddit, and he wants to know if you guys tried to corner the market before developing the game, or do you feel like it ended up developing in a way you hope will fill a niche unfulfilled in the game market today?
So there is an interesting background story to how Gigantic got started. I think I've shared with some of the folks, but when we started the game in early 2012, we were looking at creating an accessible game that's an accessible MMO end game. So basically, namely, raid experience. It's a very elitist experience if you have partaken that, and it's a lot of choreographed ads, right? So one of the things that we wanted to do was have a fun, accessible five-man raid that's co-op, um, and as we were developing it, with the amount of people that we have and the budget we have, we knew that it was going to be too big for us to make that fresh all the time, feel fresh all the time. So we basically took some of that element to PvP, um, and we started sort of going down to what about 5v5, uh, basically PvP game that incorporates some of the raid experience. And Finney joined us in April of 2013, and he basically took the components that we had. He saw something in there. That's why he decided to join us. But he, within 2 weeks, he came up with what is Gigantic today.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah, and that's why. I mean, he's one of the best guys in the industry. But yeah, it's been iteration and refinement of the ideas that he brought on within the first 2 weeks of the time that he spent it.
Did he come from Did he come from out of college? Did he come from another company? What was kind of like his background that kind of helped him make Gigantic what it is today?
Yeah. So Finney and I worked with each other at ArenaNet.
Okay.
So if you don't know, Finney was a lead designer and lead producer of StarCraft, the original. and he was lead designer of Guild Wars. He was
Oh, that's awesome.
also creative director of Guild Wars 2. Uh, and before he came on board, he actually made a game called State of Decay, which is second best selling Xbox Live title. And So he's been in the industry for a long time. He's one of those hidden gems that a lot of people don't know because he's really humble, right? But he does pretty amazing things.
That makes me so like, I don't care what you guys do with the game, it's going to be awesome because I was super into StarCraft
Yeah.
and still am. So like, just realizing those two, like I didn't put that connection together. Like that's so freaking awesome. Oh, I'm so excited for this game now. This is gonna be so cool.
Uh,
Thank you.
so let me ask this question, Chris, and this is more on the monetization kind of thing.
Sure.
And obviously, this is probably not something you can talk a whole heck of a lot about, but the Duke asks, in reference to Smite's monetization, what are your thoughts on buy all character kind of package like they have?
I mean, we are entertaining a lot of different models. We will definitely have some bundles where we're not sure if releasing all heroes at once type of bundle is the right approach, but we're looking at everything. But one of our core tenets of our business model is that there should be nothing in the game that are core to the gameplay that you can't unlock, and then that every time you spend money with us, it's time that you're celebrating because you like the game, you like certain things, aspects about the game, and you want to invest in us. So, those are two core tenets of our business model.
Great, because I'm super impulsive.
Yeah.
Like,
Obviously, you have an Oculus Rift.
yeah, well, let's not talk about that. There were Kickstarter projects before I even knew what they were. I was throwing money at them.
Yeah.
I can just imagine your garage just full of just random stuff that you're like, I don't remember kickstarting this.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, so we have another question from X Zappo. Question: what is your favorite hero so far, Mr. Chung?
My favorite hero so far is Swift. I love playing him. Yep.
Now, is that because he only has one arm, or is there like a more kind of like personal aspect to the hero that you feel connected with?
So I don't feel connected to the hero at all.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Are you saying that you're not Swift?
I'm not Swift. I'm not as fluid with my sword as he is. But the thing that I really like about him is he's extremely fast. He's got awesome sort of melee, and then there is a little sort of skill upgrades that you could do to compensate for lack of range. I think that's all around. It's really all around nice hero for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I must try him when I am able to. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So the next question that, and I don't know how long you want to go, but I feel like this question may take a while to answer, and I'm going to probably destroy this person's name. It comes from Resurrect or Rezhack, and he asks, "What's your greatest fear about Gigantic?"
Good question.
Very good question. I guess my greatest fear about Gigantic is that the things get wild when we go into beta, that we lose focus. We want to make sure, like I said, the thing that we want to do is deliver an awesome game.
Correct.
And if we lose focus, that's we are not going to be able to do that. So
Do you feel like that's a team, kind of an internal struggle that you guys are going to face as a team with the influence of the community, or just from a development standpoint?
I think it's the sort of external influence that we can't control,
Hmm.
right?
Okay,
Um,
so speaking of like an external influence,
Yeah.
and in terms of listening to the community, do you guys want to take as much feedback as possible, or I mean, like in terms of like balance and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
or do you guys want to stick with like what the developers say that the game needs to be balanced wise and kind of have in or have out?
Uh, I think the most important thing for the developers are sort of discerning between what the players are saying versus what the players want. And often, those are it's a fine line. So the I'll give you just one example. If you asked um, a lot of people what the number one thing that they hated about this is like in early 2000 hated about MMOs. Number one feedback was grind, right? Get rid of grind. And so there were a couple of, I think, approaches. Some games decided to actually get rid of the grind. Uh, you level up quickly, and another game, World of Warcraft, decided to make that grind fun. Guess which game won? So so making sure, like, when people don't want, so that's an example of what people are saying. They don't want, people are saying they don't want grind, but the grind is also part of the game, and if it's not there, people miss it, right? So what you do is take that feedback, and instead of getting rid of the grind, you make grind fun. And so I think that's sort of the you know level of maturity that is required to take feedback from community,
Hmm.
really sort of dissect what they mean by the feedback, and make sure that we do something that players ultimately want, not overreact.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have Tim. You want to make this the last question?
um, it's up to Chris. We have about 5 more, but if Chris has his timetable is his timetable, I'll go all night.
Okay, I think I have about 18 more minutes.
18 more
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, Esper Flame asked this question, and it's kind of a wordy one, so bear with me here. How do you plan on Gigantic being able to break into the market where free-to-play MOBA involves usually spending money for skins and a little bonus things when people already have spent money on other MOBAs? Most players tend to not want to spend a lot of money on new games when they have already dropped a ton of cash on games like Smite, League of Legends, Dota, etc.
That's an awesome question. I, you know, I hope that the players who find our game um, find it enjoyable enough that they do want to spend that money with us. So, you know, if you look at it, our industry, there's a lot of people. Like, I play Call of Duty, but once in a while I'll play still other shooters as well. Uh, and so we hope that there's enough of those folks that find our game appealing enough that they'll spend that money with us. But it's really, like I said, focusing on the more of a long term goal for the franchise, making sure that we stay true to our community. Hopefully, all those things will be reflected in our final product, and that'll help the game enjoyed by the people.
So, with the concept of Call of Duty and such, one simple question:
Yeah.
PC, Xbox, or PlayStation?
Oh, Call of Duty. has been always PlayStation for me.
Cool.
So, all right, that hurts my soul. I'm an Xbox guy myself, but Michael DJ asks, what's been the most awesome thing that's happened from the fans since the game was announced?
I think there has been so much awesomeness since the announcement. I just can I don't know if there's just one thing. Reddit, for example, like I think I just looked at today. It's almost 1100, or did it pass 1100? Um,
Let me double check.
Yeah.
Real quick for you, actually. Go ahead.
but like Patrick said, we didn't spend a dime on marketing, and the fact that it's up in 1100 region is just astounding, right? There's something that we're doing that's resonating with a lot of people, and just outpouring of love.
hmm
It's been pretty amazing and rewarding to see that. We before we announce the game, we're all concerned whether people are gonna like the game or not.
Right.
And even some of, like, for example, Tim. We were wondering, you were part of the community even before we announced the game, and we've shown you it's we didn't show anything to you, and my concern was whether somebody like you would like the game
Mhm.
after release. But yeah, the response has been overwhelming, and we're extremely grateful.
Well, that's awesome, and hopefully PAX. There goes Joe again. Joe was the second person that we actually interviewed on Motiga Unleashed. Just a bit of side information.
To clarify, the Reddit did pass 1100. It is currently
All right.
1112.
Oh, fantastic!
Hey, me soon.
Another question I have for you, Chris, is, and this is probably the most painful question I think you can ask about a release schedule. Is the Duke asks, how fluid is your launch window? Is your philosophy when it's ready, or there's a hard date and we're going to launch on this date no matter what?
So we want to make sure that the game is ready, but we also have to deal with the fact that we are funded by investors, and that the current sort of funding only provides a certain amount of runway. So, but I want to make sure that we focus on creating the game that's right by our fans, instead of trying to set a hard deadline.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So, as long as it takes before it starts becoming too hot in the frying pan, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think that's an interesting philosophy, especially considering that you and Mr. Lambert, is that correct? Lambright started the company just, so to speak, out of the garage, and we're like, hey, let's make a game. Now, I know the answer to this question, but I think it's a fun topic nonetheless.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Motiga?
So a lot of people don't know this yet, but when I founded the company with Rick, I saw an opportunity. I was at Tryon World at the time, and I saw a lot of exciting things happening in the mobile space. So, I thought I know some folks that could do potentially a great online game that I love, and bring that to mobile. So initially, when we founded the company, we focused on creating the platform for online games on mobile, and we were at it for about a year, and we had another studio develop our first sort of title, and so going back to the question about the name, I had three sort of philosophies with regards to the name. One was it had to be 3 syllables or less, and it had to be easy to pronounce, and when you wrote it down, um, it had to be pronounced the same way no matter who is reading it. So like, you know, if it doesn't matter if you're French, Chinese, or Korean. If you saw Motiga, you would all say Motiga.
Hmm.
And so, but the name itself stands for Multiplayer Online Touch Interface Games. It's an acronym. Uh, but after we decided to sort of move back into PC online game, which is what I love, uh, we thought like that acronym no longer really makes sense for the company, and we were exploring sort of what to do with the name and with a new logo and everything. And one of our artists came up with this pretty cool. Every time he was concepting out the logo, he drew these creatures, and
Hmm.
and I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. So my suggestion to Jeannie, who's our creative director on the marketing side, told her, hey, what if we make Motiga a creature that will appear in all our games, right? So it doesn't. It may be an ambient creature. It may be an something that appears on mural on a level, but our goal is that it's a creature that will appear in all of Motiga's games somewhere. You know, in Gigantic, of course, it's a minion that you spawn.
So that leads me to ask the question, and this is probably very futuristic with the way that you've worded this. Are
Yeah.
there kind of paper napkin concepts for future titles?
So we don't have a paper napkin concept for future titles, but there hopefully um,
The stretch goals.
Gigantic Gigantic will be successful enough to produce a lot more titles.
I think it will be. I think you guys have a really cool gem coming up. So I
They
think the
didn't
game
just. He didn't
will.
say
Thank
whether
you.
they were going to use gems or not. God.
I'm talking about the game itself. You
So we're coming up on that 8 minute mark. We'll throw one
Okay.
more question out there, and then
Sure.
that'll leave us about 5 minutes to kind of do some of the closing soapboxing. Let
Okay.
me grab one from the mix. This goes into the topic that you discussed about kind of that lax PTO, and this comes back from the man who just got himself unbanned, Resurrack. I'm saying it wrong, but that's just going to be how it is.
Okay.
Oh, I lied. It comes from Red Mage Redo. You
Okay.
said time off is very lax. Does Motiga have employees who work from home?
We don't. I think there's creative endeavor, like making games, um, is extremely collaborative process. Um, and so, if you look at our office, I mean, no one sits in the office. I sit out here with everybody, and it's because we want to make sure that there is a sort of opportunistic innovation that's happening in our space, right? So you talk to somebody about a problem that they have, and somebody may have already spent time actually fixing it, or there's a better idea somewhere that people discovered. So by having a extremely open collaborative space that you could come in every day, I think a lot of really creative stuff happens that way.
Fair enough. So there's obviously there's core hours and things like that when people are there, they're kind of held to.
So really, we don't really hold people to core hours, but we want to make sure that if they have for example, like meeting scheduled, right, they should be there for that.
Right.
But I think hopefully we are creating an environment where people want to come to work every day.
Awesome. I mean, it sounds like you guys, like I said before, just have like a huge just emphasis on very low stress when it comes to making sure that your employees are, happy. Because I mean, honestly, like that's what runs a company is happy employees are going to make you money.
Yep.
Unhappy employees are not going to do
Yep.
that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
We definitely want people that are passionate about what they're doing, but really not have to worry about a lot of other stuff. So worry about creating an awesome game, and leave the rest to somebody else.
cool. Very, very awesome.
So we've got a lot of questions that got asked, but due to time constraints, weren't answered. Would it be okay if I took this list of questions, sent it to you, and time permitting, you potentially respond to them? Not promising, obviously, anything in regards to that response, but would that be something that, because we have a lot of people who want these questions answered or are just curious.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely try hard to accommodate it.
Okay, fantastic. So, no promises, but I'll take the list of questions that we've gotten from. He's been grabbing all the questions, and I'll get them sent over to Chris. And production comes first.
Yep.
So
So I mean, we have an AMA coming up on Reddit. So ask your question again on Reddit, and it
that's a
might get
great
answered.
question. Hey, that's probably even better. So I'll pass those questions on to Narwhal and let him in.
Sweet.
So, Chris, as we close the evening out, I obviously want to first thank you for taking the time out on Monday to join us. It's the community asked, and you were gracious enough to respond. So, thank you for spending this evening with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I got to know you back in February, and I can only imagine where Gigantic's going to go with you at the helm. So, thank you for helping your team make this game, because I think it's going to be a fantastic title. Do you have any last minute words you want to share with the community before we close up the show?
Yeah, I think it's been extremely humbling and rewarding for me to see the community grow. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to everyone that's being part of this process. But we still have a long road ahead of us, and hopefully this relationship is not something that end with the launch of the game, but we will continue this path for a long time, and we're extremely excited to be part of this with you guys, because after all, we're making this game for you. Right? It's not just for us. We want to share this thing that we enjoy with the community.
We look forward to being a part of the community and helping you guys grow as a community and as a game. So, thank you so much for your time, Chris. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on. I'm still kind of giddy with excitement here. Real quick before we go, I want to kind of give a shout out to all of our veterans who have been serving overseas and all other fun stuff. So, thank you so much for your sacrifice to allow us to do these kind of things.
Yep.
And make sure to hug a veteran today, and not just today, just always, shake hands, give a hug to people in uniform, because they definitely deserve it.
Amen. Yep.
So with that, we'll do the logistical stuff for the community on this side of things. Do me a favor, guys, if you guys enjoyed the show, or if you're here, click that follow button down there at the bottom of Twitch so you can see when we do more of these shows. They're becoming a regular show. We've done them pretty consistently. We also have the Gigantic Community Council, which is by the community for the community kind of interactive talk, where we invite people in to TeamSpeak and chat with them. Motiga's always listening, so if you want to sign up on that, it's over at ggunleash.com. Make sure you follow Go Gigantic on Twitter. Obviously, follow Chris over at mo_kills_a_lot, which I feel like is some sort of foreshadowing for his ability in Gigantic. I don't know.
Sometimes it's killed a lot.
Killed a lot? Fantastic. Motiga is hiring, so check out their careers page on motiga.com.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and again, join us on IRC, and make sure you guys sub to that Reddit. and be on the lookout for new community fan sites. The community has grown exponentially. When I started my website, there was
Yeah.
2 of us, and
I
now
still remember.
it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I remember I was so giddy. I was like, I called Troy and I was like, hey dude, check out this website, and he
Yeah.
he was floored. And then it was an absolutely fantastic feels
Yeah.
moment. So, Chris, you've been an absolute pleasure this evening. Thank you for putting up with Patrick and enjoying my company. We bid you farewell,
you.
sir.
Yeah.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Right.
He's been grabbing all the questions, and I'll get him sent over to Chris, and production comes first.
Yep.
So
So, I mean, we have an AMA coming up on Reddit, so ask your question again on Reddit, and it
that's a
might get
great
answered.
question. Hey, that's probably even better. So I'll pass those questions on to Narwhal and let him in.
Sweet.
So Chris, as we close the evening out, I obviously want to first thank you for taking the time out on Monday to join us. It's the community asked, and you were gracious enough to respond. So thank you for spending this evening with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I got to know you back in February, and I can only imagine where Gigantic's going to go with you at the helm. So thank you for helping your team make this game, because I think it's going to be a fantastic title. Do you have any last minute words you want to share with the community before we close up the show?
Yeah, I think it's been extremely humbling and rewarding for me to see the community grow. I just want to give a shout out to everyone that's being part of this process. We still have a long road ahead of us, and hopefully this relationship is not something that end with the launch of the game, but we will continue this path for a long time, and we're extremely excited to be part of this with you guys, because after all, we're making this game for you. Right? It's not just for us. We want to share this thing that we enjoy with the community.
We look forward to being a part of the community and helping you guys grow as a community and as a game. So thank you so much for your time, Chris. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on. I'm still kind of giddy with excitement here. Real quick before we go, I want to kind of give a shout out to all of our veterans who have been serving overseas and all that other fun stuff. So thank you so much for your sacrifice to allow us to do these kind of things.
Yep.
And make sure to hug a veteran today, and not just today, just always, shake hands, give a hug to people in uniform, because they definitely deserve it.
Amen. Yep.
So with that, we'll do the logistical stuff for the community on this side of things. Do me a favor, guys, if you guys enjoyed the show, or if you're here, click that follow button down there at the bottom of Twitch so you can see when we do more of these shows. They're becoming a regular show. We've done them pretty consistently. We also have the Gigantic Community Council, which is by the community for the community kind of interactive talk, where we invite people in to TeamSpeak and chat with them. Motiga's always listening, so if you want to sign up on that, it's over at ggunleash.com. Make sure you follow Go Gigantic on Twitter. Obviously, follow Chris over at mo_kills_a_lot, which I feel like is some sort of foreshadowing for his ability in Gigantic. I don't know.
Sometimes it's killed a lot.
Killed a lot. Fantastic. Motiga is hiring, so check out their careers page on motiga.com.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and again, join us on IRC, and make sure you guys sub to that Reddit, and be on the lookout for new community fan sites. The community has grown exponentially. When I started my website, there was 2 of us, and
I
now
still remember.
it was fantastic. I remember I was so giddy. I was like, I called Troy and I was like, hey dude, check out this website, and he was floored. And then it was an absolutely fantastic feels moment. So, Chris, you've been an absolute pleasure this evening. Thank you for putting up with Patrick and enjoying my company. We bid you farewell, sir.
Yeah.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
All right.